Hello, Steve White, Trick Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, Terry Matalas did a interview with Trek Movies All Access Star Trek podcast, and there are some good things and at least one bad thing, but some good things. This guy does seem to know Star Trek, which is very encouraging. When he talks about Star Trek, he seems to be well knowledgeable, unlike other showrunners and writers who try to sound like, because they watched one episode and related to part of it, that somehow they were Star Trek fans when they really were just doing their own thing. He does seem to at least be trying to create a Star Trek show and actually create a Star Trek story. He does seem to know the characters, know the lore, know the history, know the movies, and he does want to conclude a lot of stories and a lot of elements, and that is very encouraging. He knows just a lot of the backstories, a lot of the characters, and there's even some talk of bringing in other characters, like Naomi Wildman was going to get a couple of episodes, but because they only have 10 episodes to work with, they realised they couldn't do it. I don't know if it was time-wise or budget-wise, but they let that go. But just the fact he even knows about that character and would think of bringing them back was interesting. But he also goes into some of the criticisms of current streaming and the idea of doing like an 8-hour movie. You can't really think of it that way. Each episode has to have its own identity, and you do have an opportunity to take people through a journey through that many hours and that many episodes, but each episode has to be its own thing. And that was very encouraging, because some other shows, although he did still describe it as chapters, he said they have to have their own identity, their own thing, whereas some people just saw them as just chapters in a book, and they, like he said, they all tend to just blur into one another, and you can't let that happen, because then it really gets boring and it just does become like one drawn out long episode. So he does seem to sound like he knows what he's doing, so this is good. He pointed out the fact that Beverly is going to be the first person that we see, and that characters will be different because 25 years has passed and so forth. He points out that the Enterprise will be in it, we're just not on it. So although we are on another ship, which he describes as an underdog, which is a bit of a worry, and also he doesn't describe it as darker. He actually says not darker, but more cinematic than we saw last season. I'm like, but that was one of the highlights of the 2 episodes of Picard season 3, two that were decent, were the ones based partly on the ship, because we got to be on a starship again, and it felt like a starship. It was brightly lit, it was, beautiful design, and it felt like Star Trek. So I don't want him to play with that at all, just do that again for the next season. So that was a bit of a worry. What else did he say that was interesting? I just read the article and I thought, I need to talk about that, and now they're all out of my head. Well, Seven, they're talking about Seven, of course. He liked her arc, and he was teasing that Raffi's going to be spending a lot of time talking to a legacy character, but he didn't say who. He confirmed that Laris is actually a big part of the story. She's important even if she's not in it a lot, and that's just because she doesn't go on the adventure, I imagine, so we just see her before and after. But it doesn't mean she's not with Picard anymore. And the other distinction that he was making was with, of course, Kurtzman, who doesn't know Star Trek and doesn't know anything, was trying to sell this and the new villain as Wrath of Khan level. And, of course, Terry had to explain what he meant by that. We're not doing Wrath of Khan. This film is more Undiscovered Country. He really felt that the Next Generation crew didn't have a final chapter, and he wanted to give them a final chapter and wind up all their stories and all that. And this is more like Undiscovered Country, but the villain apparently is, sort of bigger, larger than life, and you sort of want to watch them, kind of like Khan, and there are some space battles. So that's what he explains, that's what Kurtzman meant when he was referring to Wrath of Khan. But it's not like Wrath of Khan, but of course, because he can't tell the difference, because he doesn't know anything, he's got a really basic understanding of Star Trek, that's how he saw it. So he had to interpret that and explain that, because, Kurtzman. So that is one of the ways it shows me that he actually gets Star Trek, and he's not afraid to actually correct people like Kurtzman, which is very encouraging. And I think that's it. That was the main thing that stood out to me. The fact that he was focusing on the series having episodes with identities, so you're not just watching one big drawn out long thing where people act like, oh, it's great writing because we get to delve into the character and explore the character. No, you just drag it on and drag it on and you don't achieve anything, and you can have a whole episode where nothing happens. So the fact he gets that is good. The fact that he's willing to correct Kurtzman and understands the show more than some of the people like him who've been running the show, it's just all very encouraging, and I'm feeling very optimistic about it. So I just wanted to comment on that because it's reasonably positive, because a lot of people call me a hater because I don't love New Trek, but I'm feeling very optimistic about this season, and hopefully anything that follows this season, if he gets to do another show, could actually be a decent show if this works. We'll see. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.